And that brings us to our special report for you right now with spoilers. Because I want to explore with you tonight how this fictional depiction of lies, unrest, and amoral billionaire politics offers a larger warning about the perils we face. That citizens and honest people may need to imagine and face how much worse this can all get. Why? Not just so we have a TV show to talk about. Because like other important warnings by artists and writers at important pivotal times, this affects our understanding of the stakes and maybe corrective measures people might choose to take. In other words, know your enemy, as Sun Tzu said. And that certainly thrives in Succession with a watchable enemy villain who, among other things, makes cynical arguments.
People come to us because we don't sell them on anything. No packet of bleeding heart, United Nations, Volvo, gender bender, horse. Not to be crude about it, but politics is what comes out the bowl. Would you rather be up front feeding the horse? Get the raisin. Let's go to the top. Let's get the president.
The real Murdoch uses his power to try to make and break presidents and prime ministers. He's been seen with them many times. Succession channels that to show this sort of anti-democratic conclave, as the Washington Post put it, which is something that we in journalism can rarely show you, and thus citizens never get to see in reality. So the show uses art to warn all of us that the way things are going, maybe what you're about to see is closer to how some nominees are really selected than what we're told in public in this scene about plotting.
So, what is this actually here?
This is just a nice political conference of like-minded donors and intellectuals.
AKA picking the next president. Selecto el presidento.
That's not really how it works.
Yeah, no, sure, but yeah.
No, but yeah. The same report I showed you there drew the link to the real-life Murdoch's bet on Trump and the terrifyingly powerful forces at play here. Murdoch runs an empire remarkably close to the one in this show, along with a family struggle over succeeding him. The show echoes history. It shows this fictional Logan there you see on the right, standing on boxes of printer paper to address a newsroom, just as you see the real Murdoch doing exactly that when he bought and addressed reporters at the Wall Street Journal in 2007. So there are many comparisons and contrasts about the fiction and the truth. Murdoch's been in the news more than ever, really, lately for bad reasons. And Succession's writers say it's not just him. They have many influences. I can tell you, though, tonight, the actor who played Murdoch's top lawyer, or Logan's top lawyer on the show, discussed the overlap.
Logan, who's the sort of loosely based on Rupert Murdoch, although they say not really, but it's pretty clear comparisons. Yeah.
Pretty clear. And Murdoch's real lawyer certainly sees the issue. They arranged a legal binding divorce settlement barring Murdoch's ex-wife from giving story ideas to the writers on Succession. Brian Cox, who might be known now more for this portrayal of this character than any other role, has also reflected on the show's inherent political critique of extreme wealth, how it divides and spurs inequality in every sense, and how some at the top of that 0.1% even embrace that.
We're pointing to how wealth distances people, how wealth creates inequality. Logan, who is in the middle of all that, and he's his own history, tortured history that he has, but he doesn't give a you-know-what. My favorite word that he says a lot, and he doesn't give it. He really doesn't.
That's what artists do. Cox, who, by the way, has lefty democratic socialist politics in his life outside of this, is using his artistry to tell us how he's channeling how Logan lives within the structure and the abuse of his power. So as I explore this with you tonight, we're digging in the archives to kind of excavate these glaring comparisons, because this matters. The story in both of these worlds turns on this stew of media, right-wing politics, and a battle among three children vying for control.
He's the godfather of a media syndicate that he runs like a family business. a $40 billion business.
What you kids do not understand, it's all part of the game.
On the Forbes list of the world's most powerful people, he's number 13.
Dad did whatever the he wanted. He won facts, he took out a government.
Overseeing media properties now on 5 continents, including the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, the New York Post, and 20th Century Fox.
I didn't make Human Nature, but I do know what they read and what they watch.
So began a pattern for Murdoch's career. Hostile takeovers, rapid expansion, bold risk-taking, and a hands-on approach to running his business.
He's on the floor, Tom.
Explain to me what he's doing.
He's moseying, terrifyingly moseying.
Do you like the feeling of power you have as a newspaper proprietor?
I'm a great revolutionary.
Well, there's only one honest answer to that, of course, and that's yes.
Yes. It's striking when your billionaire overlord declares they're the revolutionaries, or even the victims and the oppressed. So you see there in that interplay between life and art an important theme in Succession about capitalism, corporate media, and also something else I want to put under scrutiny tonight, which is how that all can connect with rising hate. The show's fictional right-wing channel is seen dancing with forces of hate as a political and profitable project. They show a foreign tech bro who makes jokes about race and ethnicity, may remind you of someone who's also in the news tonight trying to pick a president. There's a Nazi reference that comes up in the show with nods that may be reminiscent of replacement theory and a bunch of other stuff we've been documenting that took its apex with Trump and Tucker Carlson or other figures. There are many. I want to show you briefly a scene where they mix the Baroque absurd comedy of it all with questions about Nazi sympathizing. So the punchline is ever so serious. The media executive that you're about to see is trying to pin down a right-wing host's apparent interest in this specific era of World War II history.
Have you ever read Mein Kampf? Yeah, a couple times. What specifically do you find interesting about that period of history?
The scale. The tragedy.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and which tragedies specifically?
Europe decimated. 7 million Germans, 20 million Russians, 5 million Poles.
You hear the pregnant pause. The accounting doesn't add up as the scene goes on to show. He didn't count the victims of the Holocaust. It's a line about extreme tragedy. It's played in the show for laughs. The point is obviously serious. And maybe people who follow less news than you and I do, I think, if we're here watching MSNBC, they might get that point and that warning and think about that there. Informed Americans do know that one of the most influential billionaires around, secretly funding Justice Clarence Thomas's land deals and family real estate and life, has a notorious Nazi collection, including literally a signed copy of Mein Kampf. And with so much misconduct, is there justice? You know, we began this report with Murdoch's court loss. One of the reasons he paid out so much was to avoid himself having to personally take the stand. That's a type of accountability he has run from and dodged most of his life. Even when forced to testify, which is rare, we see him running and trying to pin things on others and his own family. Again, the archives show the comparison.
When I read of the abuses of power alleged in my cruise division, well, that was the worst day of my life.
This is the most humble day of my life.
I believe my son was across that operation.
I'd never heard of him. I think my son can perhaps answer that in more detail. He was a lot closer to it.
Billionaires ducking consequences, even if they have to throw their sons and daughters under the bus or the proverbial cruise ship. Succession can feel like a treasure trove of these failures at the top. At this time of huge wealth inequality, the richest 1% of people amassing almost 2/3 of all new wealth created in the last 2 years. The big problem is getting worse. And we live in a time where there are these billionaires who are abusing power, trying to rig everything from public opinion and media narratives to the elections themselves. And they are aligned with politicians accusing others of rigging the system. That's rich. Literally. Rich. Now, as this show heads towards a finale this weekend, it'll be the last episode of the season and the whole thing. The last thing I want to share with you is how this show, Succession's politics and its critique of what might look like today's politics, are worth hearing because they are clear and important and bracing.
We're going to be the #1 media conglomerate in the world.
Is that any way to keep the lifeblood of a democracy going by using news as your own personal ATM?
Get your old man to make me president. I'll see to it that you become CEO.
People are going to say
We'll be in the West Wing. Nothing matters, Ken.
The president has not been feeling like your coverage has been very helpful or truthful lately.
It could get a lot worse.
Viewers will eat from his hand. No downside.
Oh, yeah, let's just invade Poland, Dad. No downside.
Information.
No guarantee.
Greg, it's like a bottle of fine wine. You save it for a special occasion, and then you smash someone's face in with it.
Succession has built this audience, this acclaim, and this impact, which seems like it could rival any new show recently around. And there's more competition than ever with streaming. So that's part of the news tonight because it may suggest a much deeper point for the real world. Like other art, this entertaining writing, these masterful performances almost ensure the message will reach far more people than a sober news report or another dry lecture on money and politics. And this season has been serving up more than just a message about reform or being informed or getting involved. We are witnessing and living through a warning and a wake-up call about the danger of billionaire politics and billionaire politicians and politicians working with billionaires who are literally pursuing profits above all and sometimes aligning with the forces of hate and authoritarianism.